It is good to be back. It's been roughly 5 months since I could last play the game for any significant amount of time. Being close to 40 with 2 jobs, a wife, a kid, and a little dog, I've been very selective with my free time. And even technically great video games can sometimes feel like a waste of time. Witchfire is not one of those games. The feeling I get at the end of a play session is more akin to having a deep conversation with an old friend. Some things have stayed entirely the same, some might have evolved, and others might take you by surprise. It may be good news or bad, you may approve or disapprove, but the bottom line is this: you care. Witchfire has already gathered a large number of such devoted friends, with the more recent Steam release now sitting at a very respectable 93% out of 6,100, roughly, reviews. And the official Discord channel has been steadily drawing in more participants into the discussions whilst retaining the attention of older fans. One of the more hotly debated topics has been the arsenal of Witchfire. You will find die-hard fans of almost any weapon in the game, and they will each argue with fairly compelling evidence, logic, and emotion that their weapons of choice are the best. And it is this variety of relatively valid personal preferences that shows just how well balanced yet distinctly strong each weapon can be. I believe there are roughly 3 key factors underlying this strength of the game. First of all is the audio-visual design. The weapons look like the mythical relics of an ancient order of the occult, and the sounds they make carry a lot of weight and distinct personality. For example, landing a perfectly timed charge shot with the Hypnosis rifle produces the deep sound of a death toll bell, which is A, appropriately badass, and B, a very useful cue in the heat of combat. The same weapon also possesses a blue gem that gradually lights up as you charge a shot, and then chimes when the gem reaches its peak brightness, letting you know it's time to press the trigger. There is also the revolver Hunger, whose empowered bullets flash a different color or shine a different color in the barrel, and whose muzzle freezes over if you are about to get a freezing bullet. All of these audio-visual cues not only sound great, but also become an integral part of your mastery of the weapons, and contribute greatly to your overall feeling of attachment to them. The second pillar, I'd argue, consists of the weapon stats and magical properties called Mysteria. Every weapon has basic stats such as damage per shot, stun power, range, rate of fire, stability, etc. And these are well balanced and obviously relevant, but are only the tip of the iceberg. As you get kills with a weapon, you pretty soon unlock its first Mysterium, which is a form of magical power or bonus effect that requires you, the player, to perform certain actions or meet certain conditions in order to proc in combat. This is immediately different from just getting a linear boost in stats or RNG-based effects. In order to unlock the next Mysteria, you not only need to get additional kills, you must also successfully perform the previous Mysterium actions a set number of times. This effectively trains you on the current form of the weapon before revealing more of its abilities to you. These Mysteria are indeed powerful, they're varied, they're interesting, but they also increase the complexity of the weapon, demanding more from you as a player. Take, for example, the weapon I showed at the beginning of the video. It is a long-range rifle called Frostbite, and its final Mysterium, to keep it short, rewards you with a double damage shot that leaves a fairly long-lasting frost trail. Freeze is a very powerful effect in Witchfire, not only as a source of crowd control, but also in the way it combos with the other elements. And so you might think that this weapon is overpowered, and perhaps in the right hands it is. But in order to proc said effect, you need to perform 3 perfect active reloads in a row. And if you wish to continue chaining these double damage shots, the window for perfect reloads becomes progressively narrower, making it difficult to perform consistently, especially under pressure. And yet, the weapon inspires you to put in the time to build the muscle memory to get those chained perfect reloads. Or else, it gets you thinking about the rest of your gear. What spells, relics, fetishes, and rings should I equip in order to better set myself up for performing this action more consistently. The third pillar is not entirely distinct from the second. It is the learning curve, both in terms of mastering the particular mechanics of a weapon and in terms of experimenting with different loadouts and discovering potent synergies that help define your playstyle. As people put in the work to learn certain weapons, they also tend to gravitate towards those support items that mesh well, and so will invest the majority of their time in leveling these items. People become committed to their build and style, and while other combos may hypothetically be more powerful, I find the player's skill, enjoyment, and familiarity with a certain setup is often a stronger factor in deciding the success of an expedition. And what's particularly cool about that is, as I eventually got bored with my favorite weapons, I started experimenting with ones I had written off prior. And to my surprise, it was as if I was playing the game for the first time again. Not only was I learning new mechanics, but the challenge had also gone up significantly, as I was now using relatively underleveled gear. Also, as I allowed myself to be a noob again, I discovered the advantages of these weapons compared to what I'd been using before. For example, it is much easier to hit the soul sigils, which are temporarily visible weak spots of enemies, and then immediately hit enemies with an auto-firing gun like the Midas than it is with, say, the Striga stake gun, as awesome as that weapon can be. If you've ever heard people saying how they wish they could play their favorite game for the first time again, I will say Witchfire comes pretty close to offering that with its weapons and gear. So to wrap up this topic, the arsenal of Witchfire offers a staggering variety of uniquely viable playstyles, and is one of the main reasons people keep coming back to the game, to make new characters, to do new runs, to try different things. And even though the game is still in early access, I have barely scratched the surface of possibilities. I haven't mentioned light spells, heavy spells, relics, fetishes, rings, all of which also possess 3 levels of Mysteria, further adding to the complexity of the combinations. The fact is, any meaningful discussion about the gear and builds cannot be done in short form without touching on the specifics, which are in and of themselves spoilers. And it is exactly in the thoughtful quality of its specifics that Witchfire sets itself apart from the competition.